G'day, you bloody legends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your movie mate, and here's a review for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, episode 5. Overall, probably a little bit of a step down from the last episode, maybe the last two episodes for me, mostly just due to the choice to have majority of the episode be a flashback when I think I probably speak for a lot of us, we're all amped up and ready for this big, climactic battle. I thought it was basically going to be the whole episode just based on that battle, and then the last episode is just wrapping up the season. But we really just got a little bit of the battle at the start and a little bit at the end. What we did get was quite brutal and good, but I did feel it was lacking. I was hoping, because we kind of set up all these individuals, that we would see a little bit more of the individuals themselves. Like, I really would have liked to have seen more of Baelor in action. I really would have liked to have seen what's his name? Lionel. I would have liked to have seen Lionel in action. Even, I can't remember his name, but the other guy that was a squire that got knighted right before it, would like to see him in action. Really didn't get to see any of them really in action. Just really concentrated on Duncan and Arian, which that's fine. And I like what we got. Dunk got really messed up, and the MVP for me in this episode was the sound design, especially watching it with headphones on. I could feel every hit, the sound of every slice and every puncture. It was pretty brutal to listen to. I really felt the pain of every both sides too. It wasn't just Dunk, it was both sides. And I don't really think, I was hoping that Dunk would maybe show some hidden talent and maybe account for himself better, but he, honestly, he just got beat up really, and the only thing that really saved him was his brute force in the end, his size, and so if anything, he probably got a bit lucky. And speaking of luck, unlucky was Baelor and how that ended. I did not see that coming, and I'm kind of sad about that, if I'm being honest, because Baelor, that was the ending of that last episode. That was such a moment, and I feel like him dying now, don't know if it diminishes that moment, but it's a little bit now on a rewatch, when you watch that moment when he comes in, it's still going to be great, but at the same time you're oh, but this is the end of him. He's going to die for this, and this really shouldn't have even happened. It really should have been a trial of combat, not a trial of 7. Just one-on-one, and really the episode just concentrated on that anyway. So I feel like we weren't lacking that much. We just lose, one of the better guys that would have helped out Dunk, I would have imagined a lot. The acting was really top-notch again, especially from, I think his name's Peter. I can't remember his last name, but this guy, acting was, top-notch. I thought last episode was his best work, and this one he just continued that, and you really felt his pain, whether it was in the emotion or the literal pain that he was going through. The backstory stuff, I don't know, I don't really think there's too much to say there. There's nothing really that happened that, we probably couldn't have all guessed, if we just fill in the blanks with his backstory. Obviously we know he was, from the slums basically, and eventually he was found by this knight and became his squire, and that's really all we got. Yes, there's some more nuance than obviously that. Obviously the relationship with, I think her name was Rafe, we got 10 minutes of it. It's not a lot to go off, and obviously when she died it was a bit shocking and it was a bit sad for Dunk, but honestly, I feel like the placement of that flashback really takes the episode down a little bit for me. I'm not a big fan of when we get to the sort of climactic final act of a story, when all of a sudden that's when they choose to give us flashbacks. And it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much if it tied more into the current, situation and the current scenes, and even where Dunk is. But really they just did something I've seen before, which is the whole get up, using that as a get up. I've seen that in boxing movies. I've seen that in other superhero movies. I've seen that in, just any movies that have fights really. There's someone that looks like they're down and out, and they have some sort of memory of somebody like telling them to get up, and that's what gets them up. I did like Egg in this episode, and he's riding his emotional wave of watching what was happening when he was, "Get up, sir!" Like the way he says, "Sir," I love it. And yeah, I did really feel that, so that was good. But yeah, so overall for me, it's a bit of a mixed episode. I did like the battle stuff. I was hoping for a lot more out of it, if I'm being honest. I would have liked to have seen maybe more time on the horses, a little bit more jousting back and forward, and then yeah, more of the individuals, like I mentioned before. So I feel like what we got was great, but I feel like it was lacking. Especially I thought we were going to get 30 minutes of it, and that would have been plenty. I don't need 30-minute necessarily fight scene, but when you sort of showing a little bit of everyone's perspective, that would have been great. Even though I know it's basically Dunk's story, you still could have had him look over and see, Lionel in action, Baylor in action, and just cut to them for a little bit, just so you can sort of see what they're made of and where they're currently at. Because as of right now, I still don't even know where Lionel's at and what's happened with him. And then the Baylor reveal at the end, we didn't see obviously the injury that caused him, and I'm pretty sure he's dead from the looks of that. So that's a big hole to fill. But yeah, so I think I gave the last episode maybe an 8.5. And I think the episode before that about an 8. I would say this is probably a little bit down on that. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's lesser than the first two episodes, but those episodes, the way they were structured and where we're at in the story, felt right. Nothing felt jarring about them. Nothing felt out of place. This is the first sort of misstep for me where just the flashback, it was out of place. It was jarring. It's not because of a lack of action or because I wanted action. It just didn't feel like it added much to the story, and it went on for too long, and it didn't really add a hell of a lot that we couldn't have just assumed about Dunk, if I'm being honest. So I thought that was maybe a poor direction for choice to put that in there. Not sure if the book does something like that, but I assume it probably doesn't, based on just, books aren't really known for, for flashbacks as much as shows and movies are. But yeah, so I don't know, I'd probably, the action was really good, but I still felt even I was, wanted more from that. So I'd probably give it in line with those first couple of episodes. I don't think any of this is bad. But I think this is the first sort of misstep where they maybe didn't make some of the right choices. Doesn't mean it's bad, just I didn't align with those choices, and maybe it'll go down better on a rewatch. But as someone who was basically amped up, the last day or two, for this episode, thinking it was going to be something that it really wasn't in the end, wasn't as big and epic as I thought it was going to be with the battle, and just getting a bit of everybody. So I'm probably going to give this one a 7 as well. I was thinking 7.5, but honestly, I don't know if it is better than those first two episodes, and I gave them a 7. So I don't think it's necessarily any worse, although it might be my least favorite episode so far. So that is a little disappointing. Obviously, we've got one episode left. I feel like it's just going to wrap it up more than anything. So I am excited for that, but the last two episodes I went into really excited, like based on what had happened and the setups. This one, I'm just more curious to find out, is Baylor actually dead? What happens to Lionel? How messed up is Arian? What's going to happen Dunk and Egg? Are they going to, stay Knight and Squire to each other? Not too sure how they're going to end it. But I am looking forward to it. So join me next week, and I'm all up to date now, so if you want to watch all my other reactions and reviews, they're all up online. So I've got episode 1 to 5, and we'll do episode 6 next week. So I'll see you then. Hooroo.